How are we doing, guys? The proper football is back. I'm absolutely buzzing. The proper football is back. And we've got a proper Yorkshire derby as well. What better place to start the football again? I think you might recognise the person to my right, to my left. Sorry, to my left. Al.
Great start, Oscar. You're like a woman driving.
Okay, all right. Whoa, okay. Whoa.
Can I back that up? You're like my wife driving. There we go. I've recovered.
Better. In fact, much better. That was the correct thing to say. That was anyway. Hal, not like Hal to say something totally inappropriate. How are you doing, mate?
Do you know what? All things considered, the fact that it's been the worst season in my living memory, the fact that I haven't been able to get out of the house or see loved ones, friends, and family, kind of all right.
Okay, very good. You're on the official Leeds channel earlier today. Tell us about that, mate.
Yeah, you know what? Game recognised game, and the Leeds official channel wanted to get me on. Boost some of the subscribers, boost some of the viewers. And what I did for you, Oscar, and for your channel is I dropped in my Rafinha catchphrase for all the fans of All Leeds TV to try and spot a little nod to all of you and how supportive. And I'm going to say this in the presence of Adam. I've been doing this YouTube thing for about 6 months, and I have to say, Sheffield United fans have sort of been a 6 out of 10 in terms of supportive. And Leeds fans have been a 10 out of 10. So thank you, all Leeds fans. You've been very supportive on this journey.
I love the comments on the video, to be fair. It was the love for Hal. It was the love for Hal. You can't not love Hal. I mean, Adam, I'm going to ask the question. How did you put up with Hal? How did you put up with him? I mean, I cracked about 2 weeks ago. I did eventually, after 30 episodes of Before the Whistle Blows, I did tell Hal to F off, to be fair, because he was getting on my nerves, to be fair. He was getting on my nerves a bit. I eventually cracked. It happened. But how are you doing, mate, anyway?
Yeah, I'm good. It's a long-standing friendship with Hal. We met in Stoke-on-Trent at Staffordshire University back in 2001. We didn't speak probably for best part of 20 years after leaving university. Exchanged the odd messages, but bumped into each other once or twice until this season with the enforced lockdown. Do you fancy coming on and providing a few stats? I'm known as the stat man for Sheffield United, and I said, yeah, why not? It was initially the Leeds game at Bramall Lane where it all began, where I did my first minute video. And it stemmed from there. So I put up with Hal quite easily. He's several hundred miles away in leafy Buckinghamshire, as he would say. And I'm in Wakefield, which could be in a very, very interesting weekend for myself, given that everyone around me is Leeds, as you guys would say.
There you go. I'm just going to welcome 2 new members to the channel. Thank you very much for your fantastic support, guys. To Robert Dunlop, thank you very much for your support, mate, and welcome to the club. Welcome to the All Leeds TV club. Good to have you on board, mate. And also, we're going to say welcome to Richard Oakes as well. Thank you very much for your fantastic support, guys. Thanks so much. If you are a member of the channel and anyone watching this, thank you so much, guys. So let's get into it. We're going to talk about Sheffield United because it's a Sheffield United preview. You've got at the minute what looks like a stopgap option. I mean, surely, Hal, there's no serious possibility that Paul Heckingbottom, even if he won the next 3 or 4 games, isn't going to get that job full time. Surely he knows that. The Sheffield United fans know that. Is that fair to say?
If he wins the next 9 games, he'll get the job. I mean, you'd be crazy not to give it to him, but realistically, he's probably not going to win the next 9 games. So I think a new manager I think a new head coach, should I say, will be appointed at the end of the season. I think the club have probably already done their interviews. They probably have a rough idea, if Heckingbottom doesn't win those 9 games, of who that'll be. We can only, as fans, speculate. There's been all sorts of reports, even in the press today. Apparently, Eddie Howe rejecting Sheffield United and holding out for Celtic. I put absolutely 0 stock in that story being true. But you'll get more of these. There'll be more stories that will come out. And who knows who will eventually end up with it. It could even be someone who's a bit left field. Maybe someone that not the fans know as a household name. But it won't be Heckingbottom. You're right, Oscar.
Steve Evans is available, is all I'm saying. Oh, actually, he's not. Kevin Blackwell's available. But anyway...
Yeah, been there, done that. No thanks.
On Kevin Blackwell, similar opinions. But I mean, Adam, look, it's very early days in terms of Heckingbottom. I think he has been given a very difficult job, to say the least, in terms of taking over for 11 games it'll be, from a club legend. I mean, any initial thoughts, or is it just far too early to get any kind of, has anything kind of changed since Heckingbottom's come in, for the better or the worse?
No, I think it's far too early. I mean, Leicester was a disaster. The club was in absolute shock when Wilder went, and I think that showed in the performance. It was an absolute drubbing handing to us, the biggest league defeat in over 20 years. Yeah, 5-0 at Leicester wasn't great. Heckingbottom really didn't have any time to put his stamp on it. And then it was a much better effort at Chelsea in the FA Cup. We gave it a go, which was pleasing to see. Obviously, working with a squad that's very deflated. He hasn't had time to put his stamp on it yet, but having had a couple of weeks off since the Chelsea game, let's see what his selection is like Saturday against Leeds. He'll want to do one over his former club. I'm hoping that stepping up from the under-23s, where he's worked with the young lads, he gives these young lads an opportunity, because let's face it, the season's gone for us. We're down, we're relegated. Let's see what these young lads have got to offer and start building for next season already, albeit Heckingbottom's not going to be in charge unless he produces a Harry Houdini effort and we win all 9 games, which there's more chance of seeing me with a season ticket at the other side of Sheffield than that happening, in all honesty.
But I mean, is there anyone in particular who has stood out in terms of from the under-23s who we might even see come into the squad or even the starting 11, possibly on Saturday, Adam?
Yeah, we've seen a few. We've seen a few. I mean, they haven't really been blooded yet, but we've got Brunt. We've got the young lad whose name I can never pronounce. Ilian, he'll help me out there.
And Dai.
That's the one. That way. We had Antoine Hackford, who had a game earlier in the season. So the under-23s are performing really, really well. So it would be nice to see them given a chance, particularly in midfield, because in midfield we've got nothing. We've got one-to-way Lundstrom, who may as well not bother playing. So why not stick a young lad in, see what they can do, expose them to 8 or 9 games in the Premier League, give Hackford a go up front. I think with Brewster next year, Brewster's the man who's going to score goals. He will score goals in the Championship. I'm confident of that. Not all Blades agree with me on that, but I think he'll do really well next season. Why not give youth a go? And Heckingbottom knows them better than most.
Apologies for that, guys. Apologies for that. Just a slight disruption. I mean, that's great. Just don't say anything. Just anyway. Is my sound better now, guys? Is my sound better? Can you hear me louder?
I don't think
it's
you
fine
can
for
be
me.
As loud as Adam. I can actually hear Adam from Wakefield to Leafy Buckinghamshire. So you're both pretty loud. I'm having a great time wearing these tiny headphones.
Is that better?
I'm now deaf. Yeah, you're
fine. Oh, dear me. Right. Anyway, guys. Let's move on a little bit, because obviously, interestingly with Heckingbottom is the systems kind of stayed the same. Kind of always associated Sheffield United, that 3-5-2 under Chris Wilder, seems to have stayed the same. Is that fair to say, Hal?
Yes, that was a wall of noise, but I got some of it. Yeah, I mean,
you've actually been serious. Is the mic that bad?
You're really loud now. Too loud, Oscar. Too loud. Okay. I think the question was something about the side keeping the same. This is completely gone. I mean, it's just there for the party. It's hanging in there. It's like a scene from Reservoir Dogs going on right now. What I would say is we've got like 8 injuries, some of them serious, some of them key players. We have been injury FC all season. As Adam knows, this has been the hardest season because I have to try and do a predicted lineup every Thursday, which is today, all day as well. And it's so difficult because Wilder never gave anything away in his press conferences, and Paul Heckingbottom seems to be the same way. All he's told us is that Sharp's got an injury. Well, that's a massive blow because we all know what the damage Sharp can do against Leeds United. He almost always either assists or scores against Leeds. Basham, we were hoping he would arrive. Yes, you're right, Oscar. This is the Basham arriving shirt that I've worn specially. He might be out injured. He also missed Chelsea. We don't have any more defenders. Egan out, Basham out, O'Connell out. We're going to have to play Keane, Bryan at this rate, and maybe George Baldock, who's a right back at centre back. and maybe Ender Stevens at centre back, but he's also got injured playing for Republic of Ireland, so we might have to play Ben Osborne, who's a left central midfielder at left wing back. We're going to be all over the place, and it is a case of get a tombola, put a load of names in it, pick out your 11, because you just can't guess week to week. We've not kept the same 11, I don't think, Adam, one game to the next.
No, we haven't. We've been all over the shop in terms of the side. It's who's available. Like I said, Hal Wilder never gave anything away as to his team selection. We try and predict it with a fully fit squad. We think we know what the best 11 would be, but we've not had our best 11 on the pitch all season. Simple as. So, it could be anything. I mean, we started at Chelsea with Ender Stevens, left wing back, George Baldock, right wing back, playing as centre halves with Phil Jagielka. And we've got Ampadu to come back in, so I think he will be one who will play. But Ender Stevens injured on international duty. That could be a blessing in disguise, because the Ender Stevens of this season has been nowhere near the Ender Stevens of previous seasons. So, yeah, we'll see how we go. But your guess is as good as mine who's going to play.
Okay. I mean, we've had the same problem. I don't think we've had our strongest 11 out in the team all season, really. I could think of maybe 1 or 2 games where you could possibly argue it. But again, we're starting to gradually get our strongest 11 back. But is there anyone other than Rafinha, is there anyone who stands out to you in this Leeds team you're particularly not looking forward to facing on Saturday?
Well, can I just say, first of all, Oscar, the delivery, the balance, the volume, the cadence, that was superb. I could listen to you.
Now.
Yeah, I could listen to you read a phone book. That was just delightful. That voice was as effervescent as you are handsome. To answer your question,
I'll take that.
With Leeds United, I mean, you just said I can't say Rafinha, which is my default.
Rafinha's too obvious. I mean, you're Rafinha's biggest fan, and you're not even a Leeds fan. It shows how good he is.
Yeah, I know. I've got to say though, this season I got a message on WhatsApp from my good friend John, he's a lifelong Leeds fan. He was my next door neighbour, and we grew up together, and we used to play football together. He actually played football with James Milner. He was very, very good, John, but he's too clever to be a footballer. And he sent me a message today saying, I love how your love of Leeds has blossomed during this season. And you know what? I think he's right. And I think it's all down, nothing to do with the team. It's all down to the fans. They've just been so great with me that I've developed a little soft spot. And the way I now think about it is, and Adam, I know you're going to be sick in your mouth here, but the way I like to look at it now is I want Yorkshire clubs, apart from Sheffield Wednesday, to do well. And I'm really delighted that Leeds are going to stay in the league. And if he's fit, Bamford is probably the answer to your question, because he is a striker that can just make things happen, even if he's not been involved for quite a long time. And of course, scored against us at beautiful downtown Bramall Lane.
Of course. You look at the bit of a rivalry between Wilder and Bamford, to be fair, from a couple of seasons back. And it's interesting how it kind of played out in that a lot. It was a good battle, to be fair. I like that about football when there's a bit of needle in games. I love that, to be fair. And yeah, lovely little comment here from Steve in Rhode Island. We are currently in discussions about this, Steve. Does that comment come on? I hope Sheffield United can pull off a miracle and beat the drop. I'm going to miss Hal next season if they don't. But to be fair, I'm hoping Hal stays on. I'm hoping Hal stays on before the whistle blows. It'll be too heartbreaking. It'll be heartbreaking.
I will, like LeBron James, I will reveal my decision at the end of the season in regards to that.
If you want Hal to stay, smash a like on the video. Smash that comments button now. Smash that comments button now, because Hal is going to stay on the next season. He knows it. He knows it. He doesn't know it, but he's going to. He's going to. He knows he is. Oh, don't do this to me, Hal. Don't do this to me. Okay, let's move on a little bit. Talk about the last game. Sheffield United 0, Leeds United 1. I mean, very tight game of football, it's fair to say. Game of few chances, hence the 1-0. What were your thoughts? I mean, it's a long time ago now, but we always ask on the opposition previews from the last games, the opposition's thoughts on it. Do you think it was a fair one that Sheffield United lost the game, or do you think you were a bit hard done to on that particular afternoon in September, Hal?
Oh, coming back to me. Okay. I watched the game with my nephew, Theo, and it was that game where his heart was officially broken. I actually saw it. It was like it was slow motion. You might remember that scene from The Simpsons where Bart asks a girl out and she says no, and he dreams of her like putting the hand into his chest, pulling it out and going, do-do-do-do-do, you won't be needing this. It was like that. He is now a Manchester United fan, as I've told you before, Oscar. So you yourself, Leeds United, you've got yourselves to blame for adding to the ranks of Manchester United. I was trying to convert my nephew to a Blade, and he got so sick of it after that game. I don't like this. He just started crying. He wasn't having it. He just thought, oh, Uncle Hal must have picked a winner. He must pick a good team. And had he been interested in football last season, he'd probably be a Blade for life. But that Leeds game really hurt him. And it was a game which could have gone either way. It really probably set the seed for our entire season because we played quite well. I think if we'd got a result, we'd have kicked on. It just knocked us for 6. Adam, I'm sure you'd agree. That was a game that really hurt.
Yeah, it did. It did. It was almost to us what it was like, probably like to the Leeds fans in our promotion season where Basham arrived and nicked the winner. It was so early in the season this time, but it was a real kick in the teeth. It was a start of things to come, leaving Patrick Bamford on his own at the back stick. One of many times. It became a theme to the season. That's what we're doing, just conceding goals. But yeah, to lose to Leeds at the time, a newly promoted team as well. The sort of games that last season, the Bournemouth and Norwich, we were beating at home, and no disrespect to Leeds, it was our big derby, and it's the game that we really wanted to win. And if we'd have won that game, I would go as far to say is that would have kick-started our season. But losing to a newly promoted side, it took the stuffing out of us, and it was several months before we finally beat Newcastle. So yeah, it was tough to take, really tough to take.
This might sound like a very, I don't know what the best word for it would be. It might sound like a very kind of strange question to ask, but do you think if you did get, say, a result out of that, if Lundstrom puts that ball past Meslier in kind of like the first 5 minutes and say you win that kind of game, do you think that almost changes your season? Do you think it's just the fact that you got off to such a bad start? Do you think, say if you won that game and maybe a couple of other ones, do you think you really would have been in that much trouble, Hal?
Well, the injuries, I mean, that game against Leeds, that was the game where we found out Jack O'Connell was going to be out for like the whole season. It was before that match, just before kickoff, that we got that news. And I was in the car picking up my nephew because we were in the coronavirus ceasefire when we could actually see people. We're back to that now, so that's great. So I was able to drive to him and pick him up, and it was in the car that I heard the news that Jack O'Connell was going to be out potentially the whole season. And I literally rang my mum and dad and was like, that's it. Season over. Jack O'Connell is that important to us, and it was that game. And of course, the players went out and gave their all and then got beaten and then had to face the fact that we've now got to do this again and again and again without our main man, Jack O'Connell, and he is that important to us. So yes, had Lundstrom scored, and I genuinely thought he had scored, I was jumping around the sitting room. I think everything would have been different, but we'd still have had the injuries, and we still wouldn't have been able to keep a consistent side. So we'd probably, at best, be looking at a Fulham position.
Okay, well that still gives you a chance but it's just one of them, isn't it? I think obviously the big problem, Adam, I mean, there's no way of getting around this, is scoring goals. I've got to be honest. I said to Hal, I remember saying to Hal when you signed Ryan Brewster, having seen him at Swansea, having been from near Liverpool, having heard so much about Ryan Brewster in terms of coming through the academy, this kid's the next thing, the next big thing, next big thing. And I mean, it can't just be Brewster. I know Brewster's the big signing, but it's got to be a combination of factors, or is it just the facts? You just literally haven't got a striker who's clinical enough. I mean, what's it down to mostly, do you think, Adam?
Well, yeah, we haven't. You're right. We haven't got a striker that's clinical enough. Brewster has not had the time on the field that he deserved for the fee that he's warranted. He's not had a real good run in the side. He gets the odd start and then he's brought on with 10, 15 minutes to go and expected to perform miracles. It isn't going to happen. It says it all when Billy Sharp and David McGoldrick have been our best two strikers. And if you look at their ages, it's a sorry state of affairs. We spent big money on Ollie McBurney, which at the time looked, a good thing to do. He's not produced the goods in terms of scoring goals. McGoldrick last season wasn't scoring goals, but was creating. This season, he's turned goal scorer. We're just not creative enough. We've lost that overlapping sort of centre backs. Losing Jack O'Connell, it's almost pivotal to the system. It is pivotal to Sheffield United, and that system revolves around Jack O'Connell. Because no disrespect to the players that have come in, but they are not going to overlap in the way that he does. John Egan in the centre, Chris Basham on the other side. that is how that formation worked.
Exactly.
That's the problem.
Exactly. Bielsa was a massively in terms of on his pre-match conferences for both not last season's game, the game that was ultimately the promotion decider back in 2018, 2019, and before the game this season. He has so much praise for Wilder, his system, so much admiration for it. And to be fair, we almost saw last season with Ben White when we played the back three. We kind of tried the same kind of thing, but again, it's such a unique system. It works from time to time. Ben White put a couple of balls into the box, but it's such a high risk style of football. And to play that kind of so attack-minded, have your centre-backs almost playing as number 10s and that lot, and, everyone's everywhere in terms of when you're going forwards. You're almost playing like a back one when you're off the ball and that lot. I mean, it just seems crazy that you can't score goals. I mean, you think that'd be the least of the problems, but I think it's, to be fair, even last season, Hal, you said that you had the goal-scoring problem last season. It was just your defence was so good, and you were so good at seeing games out 1-0, 2-1, that it wasn't really a problem. But, I mean, how does Sheffield United solve it, going into next season? If you are going into the Championship where you're going to have to win, you're going to have to win games. You can't just, you're going to have to try and win 25, 30 games out of the 46 to get yourselves back into the Premier League. How are you going to solve that problem? Is it just go out and sign a striker? Or are the solutions within the players you have now? Ollie McBurney's done it in the Championship. Brewster has as well.
Yeah, the latter. The players are already there. We will probably sign a few players because that's the nature of whenever you bring in a new head coach, and I think we will. I do believe we've got a good player called Koulibaly, who's currently on loan in Belgium with Beerschot. There's real.
I thought you were talking about the Napoli Koulibaly then, to be fair.
No, it's actually spelled differently as well. But yeah, Koulibaly, this lad's an attacking midfielder, right? Ishmael Koulibaly. He is going to be a superstar. I mean, there's already been interest, we believe, from AC Milan, maybe some clubs in Turkey. We've apparently rejected big bids for him. He's scoring goals for fun in Belgium from midfield. He reminds me of, maybe Leeds fans won't like him as much, but Michael Brown. When Michael Brown played for the Blades, he was just amazing. And he wasn't quite the same at Ellen Road. But I'd like to see Koulibaly come in because he could ideally replace John Lundstrom. So we will have a totally different side in terms of the midfield because we know John Lundstrom will go. We'll probably buy another midfielder. So it'll probably be 2 new and a fleck. But we'll keep the system, I think. We play it right the way through from the academy all the way up. So I think we'll keep the same system. We've already got the strikers there. You mentioned Brewster scored goals in the Championship. McBurney scored goals in the Championship. Billy Sharp scores goals full stop. So we're not going to struggle. David McGoldrick will be fine. We'll be playing against slightly weaker opposition. So with all the players coming back from injury, I don't think we need to sell. So that's good news. The only player likely to leave would probably be Sander Berge. And if anything, the only good thing we can take out of all these injuries is that teams might not take a punt on an injured John Egan and an injured Jack O'Connell just coming back, as they will have done, of course, by the end of the season.
It's a good point. I mean, obviously, whenever you do go down, I think the worry is, keeping the players on board. But you see, like Norwich, they've been able to kind of keep hold of pretty much every player, bar Max Aarons. I think he's the only one they lost.
Lewis
that's got to be the hope. Got to be the hope for you guys, surely. I mean, obviously, Sander Berge is probably the favourite. I mean, he's been linked with quite a lot of. I think he's linked with Tottenham. I saw. I mean, is he that level, Adam? Is he got the potential to be that good?
Yeah, it took him a few games to settle, but you can see he's got class. The way that he reads the game, the way that he can control the game, the way that he passes. He's of that Norwegian style. He's a really, really strong midfielder. He's been linked with Arsenal as well, and I think Arsenal would, as much as it pains to say, be a very, very good team for Sander Berge to play for. And I think going for next season, looking at us, it's the fans. I know every club has been affected by the loss of the fans, but, and I don't want to sound Chris Wilderish here, but with Championships sort of quality players playing in the Premier League, when they needed a lift, 30,000 at Bramall Lane is a huge difference. I watched some of the games without the fan noise on, and it's almost like a training session, like the reserve session, and there's nothing to really boost the players. So that is going to be a huge difference next season. I'm not saying fans in this year would have kept us in the Premier League, but 30,000 roaring us on at Bramall Lane next season, with the players and the quality that we've got, we're a force to be reckoned with, just with the new man at the helm.
Well, Adam, there is a bit of a rumour that next season they could start with like 25% capacity. So with just 25% capacity fans in, that's a regular game at Hillsborough.
Oh yeah,
Love that.
you're cynical, Hal, aren't you?
Yeah, got to get it in there.
I just love it. I love this presentation when he has little digs like that. It's the presentation that makes it, Hal. It's the presentation. It's not the content per se, because the content's good. Don't get me wrong.
Okay.
The presentation makes it. But
Right.
but yeah, I mean, the main thing is you're not them lot, are you? Down the road.
Do you know what? That's a really good point, Oscar. No matter how bad it's felt this season, we're not the oinkers, we're not the grunters, we're not hump day, we're not the filth, we're not the pigs, we're not the scum. It is okay.
And that's just one team you're talking about.
Yeah, that's just one team.
I've got to say, though, as much as this pains to say me, I'm actually jealous of Leeds this season, because the way that Leeds go and play football, and it was almost the mentality we had under Warnock in sort of the triple assault season we had. We'll score one more than you. You go 2-0 down. Well, it doesn't matter. We'll concede 5 or 6 if we have to. We're going to go forward and we're going to get back into this game. And I think that's great credit to Leeds and the way they go about it. And I would love a 4-3 defeat. I would long for a 4-3 defeat this season, going forward and seeing us score goals and sort of abandon the defensive nature. The goals that Leeds have scored have been fantastic. And as much, and I say, living in Wakefield and working with a lot of Leeds fans, I've missed. I really thought this season I'd be singing that old song that Leeds are falling apart. But thankfully, we're all working from home and I don't have to face them. That's the good news.
Well, yeah, no, it's very true. It's very true, Adam. But one interesting thing you said there was Neil Warnock and Gunko football, because our experiences of Neil Warnock were very, very different to that. I think that's something we can. I wish we had that version of Neil Warnock. I tell you that much. Not playing like Danny Pugh as a centre forward and this lot and
you did get to see that version of Neil Warnock, but it was just when he was managing Sheffield United. You might remember 2002-2003 season. Of course, we played you twice in that season, beat you in the League Cup, beat you in the FA Cup, and we went all out attack. And we in both games we only won by 1 goal, but if you look at the stats and the way we actually played, that was really exciting attacking football. So yeah, Warnock had it in his locker. He just decided to ditch it when he got to Leeds because he didn't like Leeds.
Yeah, he was a plan. Agent Warnock, as we called him.
Yeah, new club.
He didn't play the nicest of football at Cardiff or pretty much anywhere other than Sheffield United, to be fair, because I don't know. There you go. I mean, is he as weird as it sounds? Would someone like Warnock be a shout for the job? No, absolutely not.
He's too old. I mean, we need to plan for the future. And I know that our owners are planning for the future. That whoever they appoint next will be someone I think quite young. They will want someone to take us forward for the next 3, 5, maybe 10 years. And Warnock, realistically, if he was in any other business, he'd have retired back to Cornwall by now. But he just loves the football, and he sort of says, "Is it Sharon? Is that his wife?"
One last challenge, Sharon. One last challenge,
Sharon. We're getting the band back together. One last go, and then he'll go back to the farm. But at the moment, no, there's absolutely no chance. You'd only bring Warnock in for, I would say, if whoever they appoint, it goes horribly wrong, and we're looking like getting relegated from the Championship, then maybe to the end of the season you bring Warnock in. But otherwise, no chance.
Yeah. He's not a Premier League manager. That's where we want to be.
With Warnock at Sheffield United, I just automatically think of the documentary. And obviously, you two will have seen that. Yeah. That is one of the funniest football documentaries I think ever. When he gets Paddy Kenny to run into Scarborough, into the sea in Scarborough and that lot, and it's just like, that's just like different days. But lovely comment here from our good friend Lox Martin from. Of course, from Before the Whistle Blows. My 2 favourite channels and 2 of my favourite people. All Leeds TV, Sheffield United Way, Hal and Oscar. 1-1 draw this weekend. I honestly think it's going to be tight, this. I think it's going to be a tight game. I think some Leeds fans are getting too confident. Way too confident. I know it's the Heckingbottom factor, but Heckingbottom is going to be determined to get something here. He's got to prove himself. The man who replaced him was Marcelo Bielsa. This is pretty much just the same team of players he works with at Leeds, to be fair. Certainly like to Stuart Dallas and that lot. And all our games tend to be 1-0 either way. It does tend to be a 1-0 last-minute winner either way. I mean, I honestly do see it being a 1-0 either way. I'd back ourselves, to be fair, but it wouldn't surprise me if we go and mess this one up, to be fair, because I just think it's a game where you look at it in terms of on paper, there's not many players in that Sheffield United team at this moment in time who I would take over Leeds players. But if you work as a unit, you want there to be players there determined to fight for the futures. I'm a little bit on edge about this, to be honest. I'm a little bit on edge. I mean, Hal, have you got any confidence in Sheffield United getting a result here this weekend?
I think the bigger question is, why has Locks said that these are his two favourite channels? He's not even chosen his own channel.
I know.
You've got to ask questions. Yeah, it's a good point. It's a good point you make about like who would you take if you're a Leeds fan from the Sheffield United team. And I was just starting to think, I was kind of going 1 through to 11. I was like, yeah, that's actually a fair point. And Adam, we would never have said that last season.
No, absolutely not. Absolutely not. But can we nick a result? We will score a maximum of 1. That is guaranteed. The games for Leeds, if they've been 1-0 either way against Sheffield United, for us this season, it has been 1-0 against. No either way about it. We've just lost games 1-0 and 1-0. Sheffield United 0 has become our new name because we just don't score goals. Over 50% of games we've not even scored in. It's a local derby. That's the only hope, the Heckingbottom factor. Look, I'll take 0-0 now. Get me out of here. Get me out of here with 0-0.
No one has ever said that sentence before, the Heckingbottom factor, with a straight face.
Heckingbottom factor.
Yeah. I'm trying to be positive. You know me, Hal. I'm so positive. I always try to be positive. As I say, I'm a man of my stats. Leeds and Sheffield United have drawn the lowest amount of games this season between them. Leeds 3, Sheffield United 2. So it's got to be a draw, hasn't it? Law of averages. I'm clinging.
I'll take a draw now.
By the way, there's a couple of people who are not happy with what I've said before, but I do think there's some Leeds fans who are getting a little bit carried away going into this one. It's by no means a gimme, although we did say if we lose to Paul Heckingbottom, then it kind of completely ruins our whole season and that lot, and it makes everything we've done the last 2 years completely redundant because you cannot lose to Paul Heckingbottom. You cannot lose to Paul Heckingbottom.
Wow.
I mean, I remember Paul Heckingbottom deciding to play Werner Anita on the left wing at Preston away. I'll never forget that. That was not a fun experience. Werner Anita, who is probably slower than Michael Brown now, to be fair. I reckon Michael Brown right now, after 10 pints, will probably beat Werner Anita in the foot race. And he decides to play him on the wing. So anyway, we'll move on from that little rant from myself. I mean, a couple of questions here from our man Danny, who of course Hal knows. Hal will remember Danny. Our man Danny, formerly of All East TV, absolute legend of a man. What would be your manager preference? I'll go to you first, Adam. If you got a choice, obviously within reason, realistically, to get you out of the Championship, who do you want?
At the risk of sounding predictable, Eddie Howe would be a great appointment. Would he come to us? I think he would. I know we brought Tyndall in alongside. I would like to see Brian Dean, and I know that sounds out there, but he managed out in Norway for Sarpsborg 04. He's a Blades legend. He's my personal hero, but more importantly, he would get time from the fans to get around his way. So Warnock, being a Sheffield United fan, got time. Chris Wilder, being a Sheffield United fan. Let's not forget Wilder got 1 point from his first 4 games in charge of Sheffield United. So Brian Dean would be the man that I would love to see at the helm of Bramall Lane. Realistically, that's not going to happen. So Eddie Howe would be my choice.
Okay.
Yeah.
I mean, Hal, you alluded to before the fact that it probably won't be a British coach. It might be Sheffield United's first ever foreign coach potentially this summer.
I mean, it might be.
Preference for you?
It might be Eddie Howe. I wouldn't say no to Eddie Howe because of what he's done in the past at Bournemouth, and I don't mean getting them relegated from the Premier League.
You said last week about Eddie Howe, he can't live in the North. Never mind manage in the North. He said he can't live in the North, is what you said last week.
Yeah, that's not my opinion. That is a fact. He left Burnley because he didn't like living in that area, and he missed his family for personal reasons. He went back down south. I didn't just make that up. So that is out there. You can Google it. So I thought that might be a waste of an appointment, appointing someone who doesn't like the North, because Sheffield is at the moment currently in the North, and I imagine unless there's some kind of enormous changing of the earth, that will still be the case come the start of next season. So I don't see Eddie Howe. He fell out with Tyndall, who is now on our coaching staff. They don't speak anymore, so it's unlikely
Is that what they fell out?
Yeah, so Tyndall stayed at Bournemouth when Howe left, and Howe wanted him to kind of fall on his sword with him and go with him and then join him whatever his next club was. And we've got a similar situation at the moment now, Adam, haven't we, with Wilder's left and Alan Niller's stayed.
Yep.
And, it's a bit messy. It's a bit messy because we don't really know what's going to happen with Alan Knill. And he's been offered a new deal to move kind of upstairs. And apparently he's rejected that, but he's still there. So who knows what he's doing?
Just go. And he says, no.
Well, why should he? He lives in Sheffield. He's at that kind of retirement age. He's getting paid a great salary. He's got a really long contract. Just signed a new one. Why should he go anywhere? If they're going to basically just get him to move the cones from A to B, and that's what he's getting paid for, why should he leave? So I get that.
Do you think he's waiting, though, for Chris Wilder to get a job and then follow Wilder? Sometimes you see that. You do see that sometimes.
Yeah, you do see that.
They don't get sacked. They just kept on to do a little job at the club they're at, and then they'll follow to wherever Wilder goes.
I genuinely think Alan Knill is really happy living where he's living, and I think Wilder is probably going to go. I think Wilder will go to Celtic. So I don't think Alan Knill will uproot his whole family at this stage in his career and move to Scotland. Don't see it. I might be wrong. This is all guesswork. I haven't got a clue. I love the Brian Dean shout, though, from Adam. I think that's a really good one. Of course, a former Leeds player, a former Blade, with maybe Phil Jagielka starting to move into an assistant role. I think that could be fantastic. We've had so many managers that support our club. I don't think any other side has had as many. We've had Steve Thompson, Mickey Adams, Chris Wilder, Neil Warnock. Help me out, Adam.
Some differing success there.
Yeah.
Didn't Mickey Adams get you? Mickey Adams I know Mickey Adams played for Leeds, to be fair, but didn't he get you relegated to like League One? Wasn't it him who got you relegated?
Good knowledge, Oscar.
It was going so well on the X-Blades being successful, and then he mentions Mickey Adams.
Yeah, our most successful ever manager, by the way, Chris Wilder, combined with Danny Wilson, a former Sheffield Wednesday player and manager. So, you joke. I've just read in the comments, Gary Monk. I mean, he's had ties to Sheffield Wednesday. He's actually got less than Danny Wilson, who ended up being really successful. But I don't want Gary Monk. Don't worry. I really don't want Gary Monk.
Gary Monk. That would be. But I've got a bit of, talking of Sheffield United managers. I've got a bit of a funny story, to be fair. I'm not going to say who was working on the job, but the Sheffield United, they had an event. I think it's about 2 or 3 years ago, in terms of the greatest player ever, greatest ever 11, just like a Legends Night. It might be in your centenary or something like that. Well, in fact, it'll be a lot more than your centenary. It might be in your 150 years. It was something like that, and some kind of commemorative event. And they were having awards for the greatest ever Sheffield United manager. Now, Leeds fans will like this story because Neil Warnock, I think, was managing at Cardiff at the time. Drove all the way down. Drove all the way up. To Sheffield. Suit on, apparently. And the greatest Sheffield United manager of all time, I believe, was given to Dave Bassett at the time. And Neil Warnock was there in the crowd, in a suit, thinking he was going to win, apparently. And I'm not sure how true this next bit is. Apparently, he got up and walked out. So I'm not sure how true that next bit is, but that's what I heard anyway.
Well, I imagine he did walk out. He's not still there. He will have left at some point. But that's okay with Dave Bassett. He's actually very popular as well. If you go on win percentages, they're not too far apart, Warnock and Bassett, realistically, because they both had to manage us in the top flight. Their win percentage took a bit of a whack.
No, of course. But let's before, because obviously I want to talk to Adam about a couple of stats going into this game. Hallers informs me that Adam's going to absolutely explode with stats at the end of this video.
I never said that. It does give you an excuse to say, though, he's the stats man. Ski da 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 da. One for the kids. Yeah, remember that? What was that? 98.
Maybe earlier.
Could have been earlier. Scatman John, look him up. Don't just type in scat. Type the whole name in.
Anyway, I'm going to push you, lads, for predictions. We go to you first, Adam. If I had to push you for one, what are you saying for this one? Leeds versus Sheffield United.
Leeds 0, Sheffield United 0. I'm trying. I'm not going to come out and predict, a goal. I would love us to win, but I can't see it. I cannot see it happening. The last 3 games have been 1-0 to the away side, and that is what I am pinning my hopes on. But thinking head, I'm going 0-0.
I think that's genuinely the first. Not having a go at all, but I think that's genuinely the first time all season I might be wrong. Joe might correct me on this, but I think that's the first time I've had a 0-0 prediction. You know, I quite like that. I rate that. To be fair, Hal, what are you saying, mate?
Oh, it's the big one, isn't it? The Paddy Kenny, Lee Bromby, Sean Derry, Carl Bartley, Matt Kilgallen, Gary Speed, Vinnie Jones, Alex Sabella, Michael Tongue, Michael Brown, Tony Curry, Mick Jones, Billy Sharp, Rob Hulse, Brian Dean, Keith Edwards, Richard Creswell, Danny Webber Derby. It is going to be 0-1 to the Blades. I think we're going to be absolutely outplayed the whole 90 minutes. A scruffy, ugly, hideous own goal from Luke Ayling. We'll take it.
Why do you have to make it Luke Ayling? I mean, I don't want it to be any player, to be fair, but why?
I really like Luke Ayling. He's just the first one that popped into my head, and he's a defender, so it's more likely, isn't it, that it'll be a defender.
What, from like Bamford to chip his keeper from 30 yards?
That's less likely. Although I do remember Bamford scoring a great goal in training that was like that, and Bielsa like running up to hug it. That was lovely. See, I'm a secret Leeds fan. I can't deny it anymore.
I need to know that. The fact it didn't even happen in the game, it happened in training. Right? Yeah, I think Hal, the confirmation's there pretty much. The confirmation's there. It will be interesting to see. Will Hal still be on the Sheffield United way at the start of that season?
Yes, definitely, because I'm joking. I absolutely love the Blades.
Oh, we're only messing. I'm going to go 1-0 Leeds. I'm going to go, I think it's going to be a 1-0 either way, but I'm just going to back ourselves on this one. I think the fact that Sheffield United are struggling to score goals, we've got our best defenders coming back. Robin Koch is back available. Diego Llorente, Strauch are playing really well together. Calvin's just come off the back of a fantastic week with the national team. Absolutely delighted to see him play 3 out of the 3 games, by the way. I mean, did either of you two watch any of the England games?
I didn't watch the first one, and I did watch the Poland game.
Did you feel I thought, again, a lot of people are acknowledging Calvin played well, but there's some rival fans that are a bit salty. I mean, what was your general feeling on his performances?
Well, I'll just take the Poland one. I thought, it was really tough opposition. Let's not beat about the bush. Poland are a good side. I know they had some key players out. I thought Calvin Phillips did really well. His passing accuracy was just fantastic. I saw some people on Twitter say he played poorly. I thought we're all watching the same game, but hey, that's football. I think that what we've got to look at is that Poland were the first side in qualifiers to have a shot on target, and they scored. And people are really having a go at Gareth Southgate. That's incredible. If you said before the qualifiers or even recent games that England would only allow 1 shot on target and it would go in and would still win the game, you'd be like, yeah, I'll take that. So I look at it as it's qualifying. You'd have to go before the PS4 was even released to the last time England lost a World Cup qualifying game. We'll be fine. We will qualify. And I'm looking forward to the Euros. I think we'll turn up a few trees.
Okay. Adam, did you watch any of Calvin playing for England? Were you impressed?
I caught a little bit of the Poland game. I've got a little 3-year-old at home, so she was a little bit disturbed, so I didn't get to see much of the game. But he's done all right, hasn't he? I always think he's a little bit overrated. I probably won't be popular for saying that. On what I've seen of him, I've heard all this hype about him, and then on the games of Leeds that I have caught and I have watched, he hasn't looked all that. But admittedly, I've not watched him that many times,
Adam,
so I'll not pass comments.
What are you doing to me?
Can I just disassociate myself from Adam right now? I've never met this man, and I don't know who he is.
There we go. Hal, not like Hal to stick up for Leeds. Not like Hal to stick up for Leeds. But Adam, before we sign off,
Adam, quick tip, play to the audience, mate. All right?
Play to the audience. It does, mate. Honestly, anywhere, play to the audience. It's just like, I learned that after the Man United game. To be fair, I learned that pretty much the hard way. Yeah. But you got kind of.
And Oscar, Locks has learned that lesson as well, hasn't he?
Yeah, he's learned that lesson. You can't start having to go at a club for having a tractor sponsor when you're on their channel. It's just it's not a great idea. To be fair, it's not a great idea. I do still think it's hilarious, but Adam, you got any stats for us going into this game other than the draws?
Yeah, so a few stats. Since 1992, Paul Beasley, Brian Dean, Andy Gray, Gary Speed, Danny Webber and Billy Sharp have played for both clubs and scored in a Sheffield United versus Leeds fixture, which I think is a pretty decent stat. There've actually been, and Hal tried to name most of these before, 44 players since 1990 that have played for both clubs. So if you're bored on an evening, see if you can come up with all 44, because some real crackers are amongst it. There are. I mentioned 0-0. There hasn't been a 0-0 since 1987 at Bramall Lane. 26 games since, which is why I'm going down that route. And at kickoff on Saturday, it will be 6,723 days since Phil Jagielka scored that goal in the League Cup against Leeds, which over 20 years is absolutely incredible to think that Jags is back at Bramall Lane and could be doing that again.
6,000. Blimey.
This is why this guy's the stats man. He works all this stuff out.
Thinking about that
you
many
can't
days.
Find these kind of stats like by looking them up. Adam works them out. They're all Adam Wilson originals.
Love that. I love that, to be fair, Adam. Absolutely super.
And one last one, which one last one that I really like before. Top half of the Premier League, all 10 clubs have got a positive goal difference. Bottom half of the Premier League, all 10 teams have got a negative goal difference after 29 games. First time that's ever happened in Premier League history. There you go.
That is pretty unreal, that, mate. That is pretty unreal.
Positive top half, negative bottom half. Incredible.
That is unreal. Unreal stuff. But Adam and Hal, in case, obviously, I'm sure our viewers know about the Sheffield United way, but just briefly, well, or take as long as you want, explain to us the Sheffield United way, where we can find you, and what you're up to over the next couple of days.
Well, Adam's better at this already because he's written the name in his name. I didn't want to say name twice.
That's poor promotion, that, Hal.
Really
Nick
is.
Will be having words.
Oh, Nick's definitely going to have words, and he's right to. So yeah, it's the Sheffield United way. It's named after a song that John Egan penned when he sang playing football, the Sheffield United way, and so we called our channel that. That was an Irish accent. I thought it was very good.
That was an unreal Irish
Thank
accent.
you. Thank you. That's good. So yeah, if you want to subscribe, we do have interviews with former players, some of which have played for Leeds. So even if you're not interested in Den Blades, you can see interviews with former players, which I think will be of interest to anyone. They're a bit like Under the Cosh, except we actually know what we're talking about.
You're having a go at John Parkin there.
John Parkin and me are like that. Right?
I know, exactly. I was going to say
I know John Parkin very well, and he knows I'm only joking. I love Under the Cosh, otherwise I wouldn't have mentioned him.
I do love the stories, to be fair. I love the stories on that. But anyway, guys, we will leave it there. Big thank you to Adam Wilson, with his stats there. Absolutely superb. And you can also catch him on the Sheffield United way. Big thanks to Adam and Hal. Thank you so much, guys. And yeah, I think we'll leave it there anyway. Big thanks for watching, guys. Smash that like button, smash that subscribe button, and we'll be back tomorrow with the big match preview, and of course all our pre-match content before Saturday's big one. The proper football is back, and we will see you later on, guys. See you later.